I thought I would post this on YouTube just in case anybody else needed to know, or if it helped anybody. I had to replace the extractor spring in a Marlin Model 60 22 semi-automatic rifle. This is the extractor spring that I took out. I already put a new one in here. I mean, I kind of had to work through this myself a little bit, but I thought maybe I could just... And I played hell for a minute. But the way this whole assembly comes apart, it'll be all pinned together, and it has these little C-clips which are on my magnet. And if you're taking this apart, I highly recommend just sticking a magnet to it like that, and then use your screwdriver to push them off, and they'll stick to your magnet so you don't lose them, because they are really tiny. Once you have them off, there's 3 of them. There's one there, and one back here, because the whole side plate comes off. This side plate comes off. Now before you take that off, this is the hammer, and it's got a good bit of spring tension on it. But if you turn it over, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but the pin going up through the center of the spring that meets this plate, if you push the hammer back with your finger, it's not going to show up. At the back end of that pin that's coming through the spring, which you can see the pin coming through the spring right here, right by my thumbnail, right there, there's a hole in it. So what you're going to want to do is take like a pin or a paper clip or something, and then push through, and then stick a pin through it like that, and then let go. And that'll hold the spring tension on the hammer. Because see, this plate right here that my finger's riding on goes through that hole and that hole, and that's what holds it in. So when you disassemble this thing and you pull this side plate off, this shit here will go doink, and it'll bounce all over the place. But if you pin it like that, you take this side plate off and nothing happens. And then replacing the extractor spring is a bit tricky, but it's not too terrible. You're just going to have to sit there and contort your hand a little bit oddly. And the other thing that you want to do, that if you look, this is what lifts your rounds into battery. See that weird circle there? That is not where your the bottom half of the extractor spring goes. It doesn't go there. It goes underneath. And it so happens that the spring I just put in here is a little too long, so it's rubbing this wall. So I'm probably going to have to take this apart and file that down so it's not doing this. I mean, it'll scratch a line in there eventually. Probably already started. That spring is just a little too... You can hear the drag. So I'm going to have to take this back apart and trim the end of that spring off. But as far as taking one of these apart, it's not terrible. Don't try driving any pins out of these. You don't drive them out. You just take the C-clips off these 3, and this half comes off. So you're left with all of this stuff on one plate. All the pins on this plate, they're pinned in, pressed in. The first time I took a look at this, I thought you could drive these pins out, rotate this up, but then once I realized they're the exact same color as this carrier, or whatever you'd call it, I thought it would rotate up, but then it's like, no, those are cast into it. So, but if you do that, just pin this. I have one of them straight pins that's all cut down and bent, so it fits right in there. So once you reassemble this, you just grab this and snap it back out. and put your C-clips back on, put this back in your gun, and you're in business. I just thought I'd share that because I couldn't find a video on YouTube. I really didn't want to sit here for half an hour trying to figure it out because I really didn't want things flying everywhere. So it took me a little while of staring at it, and then kind of worked it out from there. But if that helps make things a little easier for somebody else, cool. That's it. But I still got to take it back apart again. I had no idea that this little trailing arm on the new springs is longer than the factory one. So back apart it goes again. But I hope that helps you. And again, this is a Marlin Model 60 22 long rifle.